Guys, so there's been some interest in the 300 blackout rounds I load that I used in my deer hunting video at the 200 plus yard doe kill. So always to start with, you need to draw your sources out of a reloading manual. This is the Hodgkin Reloading 2019 edition manual. It does have some 300 blackout details in here. Alright, so we'll start out with the case. I'm not using a Hornady case, I'm actually using Starline brass. I am trimming to 1.363 inches for the case length. I'm substituting a CCI small rifle primer instead of the Remington 7.5 small rifle Magnum primer. I do this mostly because of primer availability, and I work up the load starting at the minimum value. Previously, when I made a round for this, I wrote it down here, so I worked up to 17 grains, and that's where I was getting a good standard deviation and extreme spread for my velocities. And if you look at the 125 grain round right here, go to H110, a minimum charge weight of 15.7 grains to 18.5 grains. So 17 falls right in the middle there. We should be good to go. And I've confirmed and worked up to that load with my rifle, and there were no high pressure signs. And it gave me a similar velocity to what I was getting out of the factory ammunition. So that's what I've stuck to, and that's what I'm going to stick to. Alright, to start with, I've got all my cases sized, trimmed, and the primer pockets cleaned out, flash holes trimmed and deburred. Just do a couple measurements, double check that my trim length was right. 1.362 and a half. 1.365, that's a little long. 1.36, 2.5, so that's all pretty close. That's definitely within specs. So we'll start out, set our scale to the 17 grains. And we'll go from there. When you're reloading, always work with a process. So I always keep my powder funnel on the empty brass cartridge, and that'll help keep me from double charging. One thing I've noticed about the H110 powder is that as you're trickling it, it's a little bouncy. So there's a raised platform for the powder trickler. I take that off and use it without the platform. It keeps the powder from bouncing as bad, and I don't lose any. Alright, 17 grains. First case charged, move the powder funnel. Alright, that's 3 of them. We'll catch back up to you at the bench when it's time to seat the bullets. Alright guys, we're about to start seating ammunition here. We're going to use the 125 grain Moradi Super Shock tip. And before you do that, I usually leave all my dies set up, but it's always a good practice to confirm that your dies are where you need them. So I just take a empty unprimed piece of brass and one of the projectiles I intend to use. We'll feed it in there and take the calipers and just confirm that everything's where it should be, which actually it looks like that's a little bit longer than I want. I mean a little bit shorter than I want. So I'll back it off just a little bit. And tighten everything down. And I'll place this somewhere I know to go ahead and do the bullet pull later. That way I don't lose any of my resources. And now we'll start assembling the rounds. Always do a visual check, make sure that there's powder in the cartridge. May come down just a little bit more. If you start off with the die set for a little longer than you intend to use, you can always make adjustments without any issues. That's right where I want it right there, so I'm going to go ahead and cinch everything down. Alright. I just finger tightened it there, and then once I'm pretty sure I have everything where I want, I run around into it and tighten up with around in there. And that'll just help snug everything up even better. First couple here, I'll always just double check the measurement. Once I get 3 or 4 and they're all looking pretty consistent, I'll just go ahead and finish out the batch. Probably measuring every 1 and every 10 that I load up just to confirm that nothing's gotten off. Everything's looking good, so we'll just keep going. That one's neck tension's a little tight. I'll set that one to a side just because it felt odd. Keep going with the rest of them. go. Ready to go in the rifle and bring home some meat.
Very cool.